So without further ado, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our first speaker here at the BPI Theater, Andres Weiler, who's the PhD at Lonza, and he's the Global Business Head of Emerging Technologies. His presentation, how to manufacture and deliver drugs of tomorrow today. And with that, Andres.
So hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have an exciting title today. It's how to manufacture and deliver the drugs of tomorrow today. So how do we know how the future looks like? And that's, on the one side, it's a burden of our industry. On the other side, it's a beauty of our industry. If we look back into the preclinical products right now in the pipeline, we know exactly what will come in the next 5 to 10 years onto the market. We don't know exactly what products will hit the market, but we know exactly what kind of products will hit the market. And as a CMO like Lonza, you always need to look into how the future will be and prepare yourself to be able to manufacture those drugs. So let's move on to the next slide. Some forward-looking statements, we'll skip those in the interest of time. Most of you will know Lonza. Lonza as a company was founded 120 years ago in the middle of the Swiss Alps. It's a beautiful place. And you will ask yourself, why did somebody found a chemical company there? It had to do with energy. They were winning energy out of water. Right now, Lonza has two divisions. It's a life science ingredients division and a pharmaceutical divisions. And we have 5 business units. One of these business units is completely focusing on emerging, in other words, personalized therapies. Lonza has 10,000 people. We have close to $4 billion in sales. And quite remarkable for a CMO, we have 450 patent families, which mainly have to do with process innovation. We briefly talked about the burden of healthcare. And as you can see, this will continue. In 2015, we spent $1 trillion on prescription drugs. This will continue to raise by 70 million every year, up to 1.4 trillion for prescription drugs in 2020. This is not only driven by price increases. This is driven by new therapeutic treatments, by aging population, by new modern Western diseases, which we will be able to treat in the future, and also by the emerging countries. Let's move on to the next slide. We briefly talked about the cost, and the cost to bring a product to the market has increased 30 times from 1970 to 2015. Will this continue? Sorry, 2010. No, this will not continue. I think this will plateau. Because what we've seen over the last 3 years, in 2012, 13, and 14, and 15, there was a record number of new drug approvals, of new BLA approvals on the market, because the pharmaceutical companies now focus more on targeted, personalized diseases with smaller patient populations, and that creates more new drug approvals. And you will see that we will see more new drug approvals on the market in the next couple of years. So why are drugs failing? And when you look into 1990, out of 4 drugs in the preclinical phase, 1 hit the market. In 2010, 1 out of 8 drugs hit the market from phase 1 until commercialization. The failure rates have significantly increased, especially also on for strategic reasons, because a lot of these compounds are conflicting with other therapies. And here it's clearly first to market is extremely important. And this is where a CMO can help you to be first to market. So when we look into what are the new innovations in the pipeline, so what are the new therapeutic molecules, then we see there's the gene therapy molecules, the genetically modified virus and cell therapy products. We see around 500 products in the pipeline. We have around 400 cell therapy products in the pipeline, and we have 200 bio-conjugates. Of those are ADCs part of. What all of these compounds have in common, 95% of those compounds were innovated by small emerging pharma biotech companies. Keep that in mind. Companies who don't have own manufacturing capabilities, companies who have to rely on the CMO, who have to build strategic partnerships. In addition, it is foreseen that 50% of those 1,100 drugs in the clinical pipeline will move on a fast-track approval path. This has huge consequences for a CMO. And this is exactly why Lonza pulled all these technologies together in one business unit. So we serve the Bio-conjugate/ADC market from preclinical until commercialization. As some of you may know, there's 2 commercial products on the market with ADCs, Kadcyla and Adcetris. And on the other side, for cell and viral therapy, it's even more important that you can serve the customer from the preclinical until the commercial stages. And it's very important that there is no lengthy handover here from the development space into the manufacturing space. It's also important to have a global footprint, because especially in cell therapy, it's extremely important that you can keep the logistics as short as possible. So you can see we have cell therapy sites in Walkersville, in Portsmouth, an hour north of Boston, in Singapore, and we are building together with the company Nikon a cell and viral therapy facility in the middle of Tokyo, which will be ready online in 2017. We have our bioconjugation ADC headquarter in Visp in Switzerland, and we have our viral and gene therapy space headquarter in Houston, where we will be able to serve customers with clinical and commercial services. One of the key challenges of these new therapeutics is that you have to focus on innovation. Innovation is extremely important for these products. To scale them up, to deliver the right quantity, to deliver the right quality, and to significantly decrease cost. We also heard about drugs. Some of these drugs will cost $1 million per patient. So it is extremely important that we can reduce the costs by innovation and that we can improve the quality. Because some of these patient-specific batches, you need to have batch consistency, and automation and innovation will drive this over the next couple of years. So keep in mind, the key challenges are cost, quality, quantity, but mainly important innovation. And this is one of the key strengths of Lonza. Lonza is focusing on process innovation over the last 10 years. There's a nice slide which can show you what innovation can do in this field. It can reduce your R&D time. It can prolong your time to the market. And as you know, 50% of these drugs will be on a fast-track accelerated approval path. It's even more important that you have the right assets to scale up as fast as possible. In other words, in phase 1, you need to already think about how I can scale up. What's my commercialization strategy for these drugs? If you don't do that early enough, you will not be successful to bring that drug to the market as fast as possible. Some of you may have heard in Japan, we have a new legislation in Japan. We can bring cell and viral therapy products to the market after the proof of concept, after phase 2B. Extremely important that you as a CMO are prepared to allow these companies to launch the drugs after the proof of concept. Innovation is extremely important as well, because the IP for these products doesn't lie in the product. It lies also in the process. This is a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm shift for pharma. It doesn't help you to just protect the IP of your product. You have to look into the process IP. And this is where experienced CMOs can help you. Lonza has been always evolving with the clients. It was founded in the Alps, as I said, 120 years ago in the Swiss Alps. And the biotechnology business started 30 years ago in Visp. We moved 10 years ago into cell therapy business. At the same time, we built a facility for bioconjugates/ADCs in Visp at a time when only 30 clinical products were in the pipeline for bioconjugates. Lonza made the courageous decision to invest $90 million into ADC manufacturing. 6 years ago, Lonza bought Vivante, a viral and gene therapy provider out of Houston, Texas. And just recently, we finished our first cGMP iPSC stem cell bank in Walkersville. The history of ADCs you see on the next slide, and you see the investment of Lonza in 2006 into ADC manufacturing. Since then, we have in total invested 90 million Swiss francs, a little bit more than $90 million. And we have around 180 dedicated people working on the bioconjugate ADC field. What's so special about Lonza? Lonza offers the whole value chain, from the mammalian antibody manufacturing to the payload and linker production. They can produce peptides, and this in clinical as well as in commercial scale. There is nobody in the industry who can produce clinical and commercial material in all those fields in-house. Why is this so important? Because ADCs are extremely complex constructs. When you look into, you have a monoclonal antibody, huge, 150,000 molecular weight, and you have a little tiny linker, 1,000 molecular weight, and you stick it to the antibody. The chemistry is not so difficult, but to find out where the linker toxin sits, this is extremely important. And keep in mind, most of the ADCs currently are heterogeneous mixtures. It's not a homogeneous compound. Again, coming back to my point, Lonza owns the whole value chain from manufacturing of the mAb to the payload manufacture, the linker manufacturing. They can manufacture the peptides, they can conjugate, and what is new, they can do the drug product development services. We offer this out of Switzerland. We will have a team of 30 people since the end of this year, and it's exciting times. Let's move into the cell and gene therapy history. It's a very young industry. 50 years ago, there was the first bone marrow transplant to identical twins. Then it took almost 50 years to get the first gene therapy approved with Glybera. We saw another approval of Stramvelis just recently from GSK in Europe for gene therapy products. And in 2012, Dr. Yamanaka in Japan won the Nobel Prize for iPSC stem cells. And remember, in 2015, Lonza already scaled these iPSC stem cells up to cGMP cell banking systems. What else we see in cell and gene therapy is that the big pharma companies now entering the market because you are now have the ability to treat cancer. And cancer means good patient populations, nice price value. And so we saw Novartis entering the market, GSK, Amgen, followed by many, many others over the last couple of years. So what is important to offer have a complete solutions for the cell and viral therapy business. First of all, you should work with somebody who has decades of experience, somebody who has done a couple of cGMP trials, because these products are not that easy to scale up. You may have particulates issues. You can't filtrate as easy as you can do with MABs. You may have scale-up issues because you work on a 2D manufacturing platform. You may have also supply issues. In addition, you should have a supply chain from preclinical up to commercial supply for all these products. Finally, Lonza never wants to be in the product innovation platform. They want to work with the clients on the process innovation. That's the strength of Lonza, and this will allow us to work with our clients on new strategic business models. Because think about cell therapy, when you have an autologous process where you run a process from patient to patient specific, you have huge logistic supply chain issues. And how to scale these processes up, how to agree to batch consistency for these manufacturing processes. Automation is needed, and this is something where we'll play a major role. I'll give you one example. When you look into the 2D processing, you need 600 cell factories to manufacture as many cells as you can manufacture in a 200-liter bioreactor. And this is the future for all these allogeneic manufacturing processes. There's no way that you can manufacture these drugs cost competitive in a 2D process. If we bring all that together, we end up with cost, quality, and innovation, and quantity. And again, innovation drives all of this. It drives to bring the cost down, it looks for consistency in the quality, and it increases your quantity. It enables you to scale up to reasonable batch sizes. With this, I'd like to thank you, and if you have questions, please ask.